My ex-wife left me for her millionaire CEO, laughed that she'd finally escaped a life of poverty, then showed up at my office years later, begging for another chance after they lost everything. I don't know what to do. Hello Reddit I plus here. I never imagined I'd be the kind of person posting here, but after what happened yesterday, I genuinely need outside opinions because my emotions are all over the place. I'm 37 now. My ex-wife Serena is 36. We got married when we were only 19. Looking back, we were just kids trying to play adults, but I loved her with everything I had. College wasn't realistic for me. My father became disabled when I was 18, and someone had to help keep my family afloat. While my friends packed for universities, I bought steel-toe boots and started working construction. The work was brutal. 12-hour shifts in freezing winters and blazing summers. Broken fingers, pulled muscles. A cracked rib after scaffolding collapsed. Some weeks I could barely stand upright after work, but I kept telling myself every aching bone was worth it, because I was building a future for the woman I loved. Serena worked at a neighborhood grocery store as a customer service representative. We weren't rich by any means, but we weren't starving either. We rented a tiny two-bedroom house with peeling wallpaper. We drove an old pickup truck that sounded like it was having a heart attack every time it started. Every Friday, we'd order one pizza, watch old movies, and laugh until midnight. Back then, I honestly believed we were happy. Then something changed, almost overnight. She started following luxury influencers online. Suddenly, our little home wasn't cute anymore. It was embarrassing. Our truck wasn't dependable anymore. It was poor people transportation. Our inexpensive weekend dates became pathetic. Then the shopping started. Designer handbags, jewelry, shoes that cost more than my entire week's paycheck. Whenever I questioned the purchases, she'd tell me I lacked ambition. She started comparing me to other men. That was new. Then came the stories about her boss. His name was Damien. He owned 3 grocery stores, several apartment complexes, and apparently never missed an opportunity to remind everyone how successful he was. At first, she only mentioned him occasionally. He bought another sports car. He flew to Italy last month. He says hard work always pays off. Eventually, his name came up every single day. She couldn't stop talking about him, how generous he was, how intelligent he was, how sophisticated he was. One evening, she smiled while scrolling through her phone and casually said, "Damien let me drive his brand new Aston Martin today. I've never sat in anything that expensive." She looked happier talking about that car than she'd looked talking to me in months. That should have been the moment I realized my marriage was already over. Instead, I convinced myself I was being insecure. A few weeks later, she began working late almost every night. There was always a reason. Inventory, payroll, staff meetings, emergency deliveries. Every excuse sounded believable. Until they didn't. She stopped letting me touch her phone. She slept with it under her pillow. She smiled at messages she'd immediately delete. She showered the moment she got home. Her perfume changed. Even her laugh sounded different. My gut screamed the truth long before my brain accepted it. I needed proof. So I lied. I told Serena my crew had accepted a 3-day project in another city and I'd be staying in a motel near the job site. She kissed me goodbye without the slightest hesitation. No sadness, no disappointment. Just drive safely. Instead of leaving town, I rented the cheapest motel I could find less than 15 minutes away. I barely slept. Around 1:30 in the morning, I drove back home. The first thing I noticed was a black Bentley parked in my driveway. Definitely not ours. Every light inside the house was off except the bedroom. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped my keys. When I opened the front door, I immediately smelled expensive cologne mixed with wine. There were 2 crystal glasses on the kitchen island, a half-finished bottle of champagne, a man's suit jacket draped over one of our dining chairs, women's heel scattered across the hallway. Then I saw a trail of clothes leading toward our bedroom. I didn't need to open the door. Deep down, I already knew, but I did anyway. The bedroom door was cracked open just enough for me to see everything. Serena was asleep beside Damien, both completely naked. She was curled against his chest, wearing the smile she hadn't given me in over a year. It felt like someone reached into my chest and ripped my heart out with their bare hands. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just quietly backed away, got into my truck, and drove without knowing where I was going. Eventually, I parked outside my parents' house. I sat there until sunrise, crying harder than I ever had in my entire life. The next afternoon, I went back. Serena didn't even look guilty when I told her I'd seen everything. She stared at me for a few seconds. Then, she smiled. Actually smiled. "I've been waiting for you to figure it out," she said. I remember blinking because I honestly thought I'd misheard her. She crossed her arms and shrugged. I was too afraid to ask for a divorce myself. Those words hurt more than catching her in bed. Then she delivered the sentence I'll never forget. I've wasted enough years pretending to enjoy living paycheck to paycheck. I deserve the life I've always wanted. She pointed toward the driveway where Damien's Bentley was parked. He's already offered me that life. She said I was a good man, a loyal man, but loyalty didn't pay for vacations in Europe. Loyalty didn't buy luxury homes. Loyalty didn't make her feel successful. She packed 2 suitcases while I stood there completely numb. Before walking out, she looked over her shoulder and said something that haunted me for years. "You'll always be the guy I settled for." That sentence destroyed what little confidence I had left. Our divorce was finalized less than 4 months later. Afterward, social media became torture. Every week there were new pictures, private islands, 5-star resorts, designer dresses, champagne on yachts, luxury hotels, smiling beside expensive cars. Every caption felt like another knife in my chest. Eventually, I stopped looking. Instead of drowning my pain in alcohol, I buried myself in work. If I wasn't sleeping, I was working. If I wasn't working, I was studying. Construction management, business finance, property development. Anything that could help me move forward. For nearly 8 years, I barely had a social life. Friends got married, had children, went on vacations. I skipped almost everything. Every dollar I earned went into savings. Eventually, I became a project superintendent overseeing commercial developments. That's where I met 2 coworkers who shared the same dream. We quit together, pooled every cent we'd saved, bought 1 aging excavator, 2 pickup trucks, and enough equipment to win small contracts. The first year nearly bankrupted us. The second year finally turned a profit. By year 5, we were building apartment complexes instead of repairing sidewalks. Today, our company employs over 90 people. I own several rental properties, a small office building, and a handful of retail plazas. Life isn't perfect, but it's peaceful. Yesterday morning, I was reviewing new commercial lease applications for one of my shopping centers. I almost skipped over one file. Then I froze. Applicant: Damien Caldwell and Serena Caldwell. She had taken his last name. Attached to the application was a financial statement showing multiple loan defaults, overdue tax notices, and bankruptcy filings. The millionaire who convinced my wife to leave me was practically broke. 10 minutes later, my receptionist buzzed my office. "There are 2 people here asking to speak with the owner." When I looked at the security camera, I nearly dropped my coffee. Standing in my lobby were Serena and Damien. Neither looked anything like the glamorous couple from those old vacation photos. His expensive suits had been replaced with worn-out clothes. She looked exhausted, older than her age. The confidence she'd once worn like perfume was completely gone. When my receptionist told them I was the owner, Serena's face went completely white. She whispered one word: "My God." I had no idea that what happened over the next hour would completely change the way I looked at revenge, forgiveness, and karma forever. I just stared at the security monitor for several seconds. If someone had told me 10 years ago that this exact moment would happen, I would have laughed in their face. The woman who said I'd never be enough was standing in my office lobby, looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. The billionaire lifestyle she'd chosen over me had vanished. I pressed the intercom. "Send them in." My receptionist looked confused. "You know them?" "I used to." A few moments later, the office door opened. Serena stepped in first. She looked nothing like the woman who had proudly walked out of our marriage. The expensive designer clothes were gone, the flawless hair and makeup were gone. Dark circles sat under her eyes, and there was a nervousness about her I'd never seen before. Damien followed behind her, carrying a worn leather folder. Even he looked defeated. His shoulders were slumped. His confidence had disappeared. For almost 30 seconds, nobody said a word. Serena finally broke the silence. "You own this company?" I leaned back in my chair. "Part of it." Her eyes slowly wandered around the office. The framed awards, the architectural models, the certificates, the family photos with my business partners, the city skyline outside my window. She looked like she was trying to process how the man she'd called a failure had ended up here. I didn't know," she whispered. I smiled politely. "Clearly." Damien cleared his throat. "We're here regarding the lease application." I nodded. "I know." He slid the folder across my desk. "Our previous shopping center was foreclosed. We're trying to open a smaller business and start over." I opened the folder. Even though I'd already read every page, the numbers were ugly. Bankruptcy, outstanding judgments, tax lines, massive debt. I looked up. "What happened?" Damien let out a bitter laugh. "Everything." He explained that shortly after marrying Serena, he'd expanded too aggressively. He borrowed millions to buy more commercial properties during a booming market. Then interest rates climbed. Several major tenants went out of business. Construction costs exploded. Banks demanded payments. Investors pulled out. Within 3 years, the empire he'd spent decades building collapsed like dominoes. Every luxury car was repossessed. The vacation homes were sold. Most of the businesses closed. The mansion they'd proudly shown off online had been auctioned. Listening to him, I realized something. Karma hadn't arrived all at once. It had slowly dismantled everything they'd built. Serena suddenly spoke. I know I don't deserve your kindness. I held up a hand. You're right. She looked down. I wasn't finished, I said. You wanted honesty. You'll get honesty. I stood and walked over to the window. For years, I wondered what was wrong with me. I didn't turn around. I blamed myself. I thought maybe if I'd worked harder, made more money, bought nicer things, you would have stayed. My voice stayed calm. But after a long time, I realized something. You didn't leave because I failed. You left because you believed someone else would always give you more. The room fell silent. When I turned around, Serena was crying. I know, she whispered. No, I shook my head. I don't think you do. You didn't just cheat. You made me feel worthless. You looked me in the eyes and told me I was the man you settled for. I carried those words around for years. She covered her face. I'm sorry. I believed she meant it. The problem was, some apologies arrived too late. Damien suddenly stood. I'll wait outside. Without another word, he quietly left the office. That left Serena and me alone for the first time in almost a decade. She looked around my office again. I heard rumors about a construction company doing well. I never imagined it was yours. I stopped following your life after... She couldn't finish the sentence. After you left? She nodded. I was ashamed. I almost laughed. Ashamed? Where had that shame been while she posted pictures from yachts with captions about finally living the dream? She reached into her purse and pulled out something wrapped in tissue paper. I've carried this for years. She placed it on my desk. Inside was my old wedding ring. I couldn't throw it away. I stared at it. It looked so small, so meaningless now. You should have. Fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. I was selfish. I thought money solved everything. I confused luxury with happiness. I thought Damien's world was perfect. She let out a painful laugh. It wasn't. She admitted that once the money problem started, everything changed. The expensive trips disappeared, arguments became daily, friends stopped calling. The people who used to surround them vanished overnight. She realized most of their relationships had been built on wealth rather than loyalty. Then she looked directly into my eyes. I've spent years wishing I'd never walked out that door. There it was, the sentence I'd expected. I still love you. I didn't answer. I never stopped. Still nothing. I know you hate me. I don't hate you. She looked surprised. I don't. Hating someone means they still occupy space in your heart. I let that go years ago. Those words seemed to hurt her more than if I'd yelled. She slowly nodded. I was hoping. She stopped herself. Hoping what? That maybe. She swallowed. If life gave us another chance. I gently pushed the wedding ring back across the desk. Life already gave us one. You threw it away. She completely broke down. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears from someone finally accepting the weight of her own decisions. After several minutes, she stood. I'm sorry for wasting your time. Before reaching the door, she turned one last time. Will you approve our lease? I looked at the application sitting on my desk. For a brief second, the angry 26-year-old version of me wanted revenge. Reject them. Make them feel what I felt. Watch them lose one more opportunity. Then another thought crossed my mind. If I did that, I'd still be letting my past control my future. I picked up my pen. I'll approve it. Her eyes widened. But understand something. This isn't because you deserve a second chance with me. It's because 90 people work for my company. My business succeeds by making smart decisions, not emotional ones. If your business can pay rent, you're just another tenant. Nothing more. She nodded through her tears. I understand. As she walked out of my office, I realized something I never thought possible. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't even feel sad. I felt free. About 6 months later, I heard through mutual acquaintances that their little business had stabilized. Not because of luck, because they finally learned how to live within their means. As for me, life had one final surprise. A charity fundraiser for local trade schools introduced me to someone who appreciated long hours, honesty, and quiet evenings far more than luxury cars. We took things slowly, no games, no comparisons, no impossible expectations. Last month, we got engaged. Sometimes people ask me if I regret everything that happened. The answer is no. Losing the person I thought I couldn't live without forced me to become the person I was always capable of being. And that's worth more than every mansion, sports car, and luxury vacation in the world.